A gracious good morning. This is Coach T, Professor Tommy Halstead with GEM Universe's recap video for your very first decision. What we do with these, we are going to go over a lot of graphics that'll help you, not just in today's recap and decision two, but it's important for decision two, but we'll give you a lot of graphics on how the process works, which will help with your final presentation. Remember, this is a relay race. I want to thank every one of you, all your validators and all of our class members, and being so diligent in your meetings this week and getting your validation done in this first decision is also a tough one. You all did fantastic. We'll take a look at that at the macro, but then I'm going to go into very quickly going through without a lot of explanations. I'll post some of these on Halo. Remember, check announcements frequently. That's where I put a lot of these, although some are under the discussion questions. But this is going to be well worth the whole rest of the class to go over this carefully, because you'll see what you can pause the video and take screenshots, especially of the white line as it evolves. You'll see the famous or infamous white line. You see my return on capital employed hat I wear traditionally. Got my GCU hat also, and got a Harvard hat and a Purdue hat around here somewhere too. If anyone else is joining from my other classes. But so let's take a look at to begin with, at the results that you've seen somewhat in Halo. But let me do a quick overview first. We saw the ranking and the results initially, which were, blue and red were basically tied. Blue's the winner because the metrics are higher in accumulated retained earnings in Rosé. Yellow did great in emissions, but we'll see some other analysis of that. But again, these are for screenshots, so you can kind of say, where do we end up? Obviously, if you're number one in 6 indicators, 6 is the best you can do. If you're number 3 in 6, 18 is the worst we can do. So 10 and 14 are not bad at all for a first decision, with no feedback from the competitors and no real customer knowledge yet and what the customer wants with the famous white line. So everyone did fantastic. We saw I posted this on Halo, but again, the faculty report, the thing to do with this is take a screenshot, look at where are our revenues compared to our EBIT, and also what we inherited. Let's see if I can find our inheritance here. This is our inheritance. We obviously started out all the same here, and this was posted on Halo already, but you'll see more of it. Everybody started out the same here with bleeding deeply, as we always do in eco. We have to turn that around and get it even, and doing not real well in low cost, but a little more recoverable. The goal of this is to get along the line, at least break even in all these. We sometimes have teams that start a flywheel, and you'll see the yellow team all the way across here, all bars on top, profitable, or another team, or everybody else doing great, and everybody above the line. That is very rare in hundreds of sims. You rarely see, because it's a turnaround. It's in really deep trouble in eco. So did anybody actually fix eco? Well, here's your first decision. Impossible. 2 teams. Yellow's about the same. 2 teams actually did better in eco, which is usually unheard of for a first decision, because you can't match your production as well to your demand to begin with, because you don't understand the production function yet. And I got a really sweet question from one of our validators who said, how can we reduce this inventory? And it's great this early in the sim, before a first decision, to have somebody saying, hey, this inventory is a problem. What can I do with it? That is brilliant. So this is going to be a great universe, I can tell already. But it's a very new. You can have the simple answer and say, sell more. Yeah, okay, there goes our inventory. But that's kind of a silly response, because the question shows a lot of nuance, that reducing inventory is not easy when you're out for every one of these periods is a year. So you're planning inventory for the next year, taking out a loan, doing all that other good stuff, and trying to manage cash flow. So everyone validated first time. I have to be honest with you, sometimes teams go wild, spend a whole bunch of money on all kinds of stuff, and cache is zero and they can't validate. We've got to go in and change all those sliders, and it's a nightmare. Thank you for not. So I'm very grateful for that. If you hear a little pause or if there's an edit here, it's probably because this is, Saturday morning. Either you're watching this on Saturday or Sunday, or if you don't jump on until Monday, probably seeing it on Monday. But we'll do one of these recaps with every decision. But the main thing is when I'm showing you some detail here now that you can take pictures of, but we can also, those also be put on Halo and you can stop, take a screenshot of some of the white lines that we can animate later. I'll show you how to do that. This has got some performance analysis that I've done. I have to do myself. We don't get these in the sim, but I've got the spreadsheet set up to kind of take a look at some of these, like what's going on with the business units, where is the cost control not happening, and where is production not being matched to demand. Some of the mistakes here, I'm not going to read all this to you. You can see this, take a peek and see who did what here and what are the opportunities. These opportunities for and some strategic advice in terms of cost of non-quality, which is really important. And you'll see that in some of the graphics when I show you these, and you can analyze them yourself. Remember, this is a relay race. You get 0 points for some of these decisions, but then they add up to hundreds of points towards the end. So make sure you do everything that, even if it has a 0 point on, don't say, oh, don't blow this off, it's got 0 point. Most teams don't do that because we work as teams and say, all right, let's work together. Same thing, you're doing great on all of these benchmarks. Get together as a team. You don't have to get there that often to do the sim. You can get it together, make a decision, and get into a sort of a groove, get into a process here. But you can also schedule meetings and divide up the work. If you have a big, long assignment, each one of you take a page, or in the final presentation, if there's like a total of like 6 slides or 5 slides as your final presentation, or 4, each one of you take one slide and do a slide, put them all together, and they'll all submit the same thing, even on benchmarks as well as CLCs. That's absolutely successful. Teamwork is a key to this sim. Now, I also have some more metrics for what happened before and what's happening, better, worse. What happened, what you inherited, and how did you do better, and how did you do worse, and what are the opportunities in EBIT with much more detailed kind of what happened mistake-wise and what did you do well. Although, with transformative learning, we have critical reflection. We have thick skins. We want to see what we did wrong. And it's like playing chess when you have a really bad, tough battle in a game and you lose at the end or you win at the end, whichever. The ending, you learn a lot better by seeing, oh, here's all the things that happened. Wow, I would have done this, this, and this. In your final presentation, I can tell you right now, yellow can easily win this sim. By the time you get to decision 5, it's going to go. People are going to be going because you're getting so much closer because you know what you're doing more and more. But this is really absolutely transformational because you will be seeing running a real business. Every time I make a decision, there's 10 other things that happen. All these gears turn together. And that's really part of the learning experience. And so when you do your final presentation, let's say you completely crashed and burned your whole company and put it under, and by the end, you're completely dead lost. You had the worst, no one's ever done that, but let's say you have consistently never done good at anything. Show me on the final presentation what you would have done better, what you did better, and what things you would have changed. And that is where you get your A+ in the class because it's learning. I really learned a lot doing this. Here's what I did wrong. That's just as valuable as what you did right. Now, hey, you build a flywheel, you do fantastic, and you're geniuses. You can't beat the sim. There's too many decisions. Nobody can beat it. It's like beating life. You just can't. But as if I were going to play an 80 move chess game now. And I started moving the pieces in the opening. I was playing black, and let's say I was doing a Sicilian, or let's say I was doing something sort of a little easier like a Greenfield, or I was doing a Catalan as white. I have my thing kind of going, and I know the steps in the beginning. Am I planning for the end game now? Am I saying I know these pawns are going to be here by the end? These will be here. Then I'll be able to isolate this, and I can do a bank back rank mate there. No computer or no grandmaster on Earth can do that because there's 10 to the 123rd. The log is 35 possible moves with 80 plies or 40, well, 40 total moves in a game, 35 initially. So the logarithm of 35 x to the y to the 80th power, which would be 10 to the 123rd, Shannon figured out that that many moves. So there's no way. And you know what? There's infinitely more moves than chess in this sim. If you look at the indicators, the sliders, and all that, it's not an 8x8 board. With your 16 pieces, it's on either side. It's a whole lot more with the competitors, customers, so no one can beat the sim. You'll see that in all of Paul in my videos. So what the learning process is to see what are the key indicators? What are the key indicators and benchmarks I need to do? And that's how our business is run. So nobody can claim that I knew this end game was going to be here. So you got to make course corrections you got to critically reflect, say, what did I do? Have a transformative moment. I'm going through the Jack Mesereau kind of, or Bloom's kind of, all of the combined ways that you learn optimally. So without further this, let's jump into our universe charts. We've seen the faculty report. We'll do the lost orders over inventory, and then we'll look at some individual. Okay, this is a very famous chart. You're gonna in the next four decisions you're gonna be learning, and the whole class is the key to EBIT. This is called lost orders over inventory. In America, a sale is considered a delivery. Some of these things are European, but we have to understand that when we use the word sales, we're talking about deliveries. That's important because you can have orders that you can't deliver because you're not making enough, and that's called lost orders. What's really important in these charts, and you'll see this zero going up and down depending on the balance, is zero line is perfect. If you start here and then you go across here for 5 decisions, this is like 2 decisions, what you inherited in one decision. This will start to get long, boom, 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 like this, right? By decision 5, all these 3 teams, all of you should be closer to zero. What zero means is if you go up, when you have any ratio in math, it's the opposite in your graph, obviously for denominator reasons. But if this is lost orders over inventory, then the inventory is on the top. It's not over that in the chart. So as it goes above zero, you're building inventory. If it goes below zero, you're losing orders. So this always happens because we kind of get what our customers want if we look at the cheat sheets, but we don't understand how many should I make? It's a simple formula. I gave it on Hilo. I did it in other videos. We'll show many times. The formula is basically doing your CapEx, figuring out what your unit CapEx is, benchmarking one, and then multiplying by how many you want, and adding back depreciation. That's the formula. It's all 4-function math, but that's how we find out what's under plant capacity, how many should I make based on my forecast. And forecasting now is Bayesian metrics. It's not, let's call the sales force, how many are going to do this month? That's not the way it's done anymore. It's all metrics. So, and I'm showing my age. But so obviously what happened in low cost here on the decisions is that Blue basically won the sim well, they didn't really win it. Red and blue were kind of tied, but blue had better metrics just in row save. It's 10 and 10, so it really was tied first place. And yellow did better here in Las Casas and getting closer to zero. So that's why I'm saying Wicked Nod, yellow is doing great. And even though they were only number one in emissions, but you'll see in the advice it says, hey, watch the cost in admissions, because even if you want to be taking care of our Lord's good green earth and be an eco, don't. Don't go for eco in the beginning. Don't go for low cost. Be careful with that. And if you're going to market it, make sure you make them. This very low production in all 3 of these, and ecos this is an eco, this is low cost, but low cost and ecos are mostly tough, very tough. Now we're not building a lot of inventory because we're not over marketing, but we are underproducing even for the inventory we already had. So when somebody says, how do I reduce inventory? Yes, you can sell more by lowering a price, which is a bad idea, or you can control your costs better. You can make the amount you need for the demand. You can market, and you can match better the value chain to what your customers want. Let's look at family. All right, family, you'll see is finally, which I kind of warned you, you'll see that something sometimes happens with the zero, where it's way down here. And blue and red in family and image are good lines because they start up on matching protection fairly well. What happened here is Yellow did the exact opposite. They built a ton of inventory in family because they actually made plenty from the production as if they did, but they did not market enough in family. The marketing and what the customers want in family, also, you can easily overshoot this by being choosing the wrong sliders, basically, according to what the customers want. So what is the point? We'll see this when we go back in a minute and look at the individual decisions by team and take pictures of that because you'll see what your competitors are doing. Not all professors give that information. They say, no, you go to the financials, you figure this all out. Not on a 5 week. I don't do that. I give you all the data you need because it's hard enough as it is with my cohort, which are working adults. So I'm going to give you all this stuff. You do have to crunch them, look at them, and figure out what's happening, and I'll try to help you that with the texting. But Yellow, essentially, you'll see something like in the slider in marketing of car dealerships. And some people had them at 5 or 4 and they reduced it to 3 or 4. You do not reduce dealership availability in family. They want that. Family wants that. Image, yes. And image, you don't want a lot of dealerships, but you do. And all these are in the cheat sheets, but I'm not being pejorative here. You can't memorize it for the first thing and not even see what the competitors want or what the competitors did and what the customers want. So that all did fantastic for a first decision. Let's look at Eco, the absolute destructor of everybody in this sim. And zero is going to be lower probably here because inventory started high. Yes, okay, here's our zero. Here's our zero down here. So well, we all started with quite a bit of inventory, which was why it was very perceptive for my validators, one of our validators to say, I don't want to embarrass anybody or, you know, I'm just saying one of our validators asked what are you going to do with this revenue situation? I gave you a whole like 10 ideas. And then I posted it on Halo because I'm not allowed to help only one team. Although I love to see everybody doing great. So look at the zero line here. And what's interesting with red is it's a really good kind of straight line here. So red did really good. They didn't lower the inventory down to here, but they also didn't build any or they didn't lose orders. Now you look at the other two and you see the two other problems we can have, either not enough marketing or not enough production. Down here, we have we had plenty of good marketing. We didn't build inventory. We got rid of our inventory, but we lost a whole bunch of orders here because we did not produce enough in yellow of eco. So we have to produce some. And I know people are backing off of eco, but you have to keep what happens if you don't produce any and you don't do anything in eco? It's like shutting the plant down. Now we in the 10-week course and in the the longer courses, they actually can close a plant. If you want to back off of something, don't back off of production when you have inventory. If you start with inventory, make some. Just don't have good marketing, but not enough made to do it. So, and you'll see that's in all the advice of what happened to in the production side of yellow. And there's specifics we'll see. So again, now blue did great too, but that blue built a little bit of inventory there, and eco is very hard. Now let's look at the flagship of the sim and see what happened in image. Who did great on it and who had an issue by marketing it or not marketing it. Right here, we've got amazing work starting where it is by Blue staying the course and doing well in terms of matching supply and demand and image. And you'll see that affected. You go back to EBIT and say, oh my goodness, this is why EBIT fell where it did. Now there's 10 indicators and 50 decisions, but if you really look at that, matching your supply to demand, you're going to really do good in EBIT because you'll be selling every unit profitably. Every unit of revenue will be a unit of profit with a margin because you have to look at your operating leverage, which drives your margin, and your capex, which drives your operating margin. So there's the cascade 1, 2, 3. What's capex doing? And this has only been the last 10 years or so that people see how close capex is related to cash because there wasn't a lot of capex going on with China doing all the manufacturing and us doing not many until Google and other service companies found out we've got to have capex. We've got to have we don't have a balance sheet. We're not going to survive. Our stock's not going to survive. So they started buying server farms. They bought companies badly, but then they started actually investing in assets in quote manufacturing. So this is really important even for services businesses and for SaaS businesses if you're going to go into software and computers. So again, we'll look at this more and more, but you'll see it's an amazing predictor. And what do you do? What does yellow do? If you're building a lot of inventory, you need to do all the things of how do I reduce my inventory in terms of, do you need as much production as you're doing? Are you maxing your production? Are you over engineering and gold plating the car? Remember, image is a great line. It'll really help you the next few decisions. Red, on the other hand, did great in terms of marketing, but they didn't produce enough. And blue hit it well right in the center. So let's now jump into, well, I want to show you some of the other indicators here. We've looked at lost overs inventory, but what drives cost is very important to ROCE. And we'll see the unit costs here in what is being driven, what drives these costs in each line. And you can see what is better and what is worse in terms of the learning curve of how, and they're all the same to begin with because there's no learning curves, there's no curve yet. But you can see by how much capacity is being used, what is the capacity and the volume, and then how effective is the engineering and how effective is the marketing. And these are just to take some shots of, and they'll help with your final presentation. Unit costs are also important. Why am I emphasizing cost? Because that's another way that unit cost in each one of these lines. Now that was image. Let's look at low cost. Let's look at family. Look at eco. Let's take a quick, these are just for screenshots because I'm going to show you what actually happens. You can see the three of them in terms of engineering versus marketing. So let's see, where's engineering? Okay, well, this is eco-friendly. Let's go low cost. We'll do a few of these. All right, let's look at engineering. How well are we engineering comparing to how well are we marketing? Each one of these lines, there's low costs, there's family, and we can also, well, prices remaining fixed because nobody's doing a bunch of price competition, which is smart. You're keeping the industry up so we can make a profit and you can break even by the end of it. And there's not a lot of change here because there wasn't a lot of change in the sliders. So the effectiveness of the marketing is very similar the way it works. So they're saying a second is actually red's tied for first because it's got to say, now when you look at your landing pages here, you'll see the same things on the landing page and it always gives emissions here. Remember, let's just hop quickly up to our decisions and our lines, or we can look at our markets and see our other competitors. What did the other competitors do within the market and the company overall? But the decisions themselves are going to be, as you did, is corporate and sliders. But remember, always keep an eye on these business indicators. Our GPI was like, what, $1.30, $1.40 when we started. Take screenshots of these because, and remember these, or make a record, because if this goes up to $4 by the end of the sim, image is going to start dying and you're going to have low cost and by the end. But the fifth decision, which is only a few decisions away now, as we're getting there, is very special because of a certain thing about inventory that I won't talk about now. We'll get into the next one. But these are the two market kind of indicators to take a look at in terms of what's going on, not just with emissions, but in finance. That includes our business index, our PCI, what is the cost to make them, and especially our gas price because of image. So now let's jump into decision. And we won't do this on every one because it's going to be the same for everyone in terms of gas prices and all that. Our business lines, this is giving a lot away, but guess what? As we look at low cost, family, eco, and image, remember I told you, I don't know if everybody saw this, but they have this perception line. We don't have to worry about perception. It's this light line. If you want to look at it, you can look at it, but you're going to get to know the white line shows you what the customers want in every area. So we're going to start picking it up. And remember, this isn't a time series. This is a feature series. So this is going to be design, performance, comfort, robustness, size, all the things you went through. These are decisions in how much did they match what the customers wanted. So if you're underspending, there's a gap here in a certain area. If you're dead on, you're doing great with what they want. But you can see that here and then you got to look at the line and the value chain and the budget. But in low cost, and I'm not going to give that all the way to all the chains, but this is, if you're dying in something, this is your savior. Go back to the white line and say, we need to spend a little more. What is this, consumption? Because they do care. This should be, yeah, that's consumption. Okay, so we got consumption and low cost, which is, it's like, hey, we kind of overspent, which will drive our consumption is, how do I explain this? It's really expensive in capex. The more you do in consumption, what is this on for? The sun for, so it's where it kind of started. So low cost doesn't need that much in terms of fuel efficiency as eco does, but it's not needed at all in image. So let's jump this to image and look at this. We shouldn't be doing this, but you'll see that it's just the opposite, that it's lower here compared to what was being spent because they don't care. It doesn't care that much. They don't care that much in image. Also, the image here with red, the I try to kind of warn everybody that it started at 4 or 5 in some. Um, Going way up to 9 or 10 at the beginning of the sim, you're going to really overspend. So that's why I kind of said make small changes. So although this is how you build a flywheel, if you really take a chance and you price right and you build a great, but this is a little bit gold plated. There's some things they actually didn't want, but when you get like is this models? Dead on in number of models. So let me see where the number of models. And is that 5 or so? 6. That's 5. Okay, so you stay moderate at 5 or 6, but this pattern, it's not just about spending or underspending. It's how does the flow work with what they want? Why did Red do so well when they didn't take Coach T's advice when they did a 9? How the heck did they do so well? Because they did it right. If they didn't do the quantity right, here's your slope. And look at what they wanted compared to what they did. This is fantastic planning and strategy because you're really hitting what you want. You just overspent a little in how much they wanted, but not what they wanted. So you're not going rah, 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 according to not understanding your customers. So there's a great marketing doesn't do much at this stage yet, but this is very, very important. So we missed family. I'm going to do a couple of shots on this. Family's got a lot of money. We have some up and down here, but also some good matching. When you have things going like up and down a lot like this, you're kind of adjusting what do the customers really want and where should I spend. But this is not too far apart. This is the opposite of the other. It's we're not quite up with what they want in our precious family line. Let's look at the destroyer of all teams, which is eco, which is impossible. And well, there was not, nobody did anything much. This was pretty smart. This is very smart on Red Team's part because what did they do? They made very small and they didn't invest big in any given thing. So you can kind of start to see the formula here of what it takes to win the sim. And do well in it because there's good examples in everybody and what they did. So let's see, we looked at everyone, but not making a lot of changes and thing that's going to kill you. It's going to wobble like this, but it's not going to kill you as much. So let me see if we should revisit. Let's visit blue, right? Let's visit the blue team. Look at some of this, and we'll be done soon here. Low cost, really good profile, very good following and very good spending, which is very unusual in low cost, which is why the financials came out great. Family, blue. Again, not pretty close to what the demand is and pretty close to what they want. A little bit of underspending, but not a lot. This is very advanced, mature matching. At eco, that kills everybody. How'd we do? Not that bad in eco either. We're seeing what the customers want. We're underspending a little bit, but you can also overspend in eco easily. This is, you know what? This is unbelievable to be that matched to what your customers want. This is very good in a first decision because you didn't even see what your customers, competitors and customers were doing now. Look at that. Beautiful match. Some underspending here, of course. And to say, well, all these have to be here and here and there on the first decision when you've never tried this before is like ridiculous, but still amazing. All right, let's take a look at, okay, again, in that thing that kills you a lot. Not a lot of changes. Pretty good on these. Nobody went way up. Consumption, because consumption should be a little bit too high a spending, right? Because this is at 6, should might be at 5. Because consumption is not, it is important to low cost, is low cost, right? But not as important. Oh yeah, okay. So there's a little bit of an overspend there. Nothing terrible. So really good, not bad at all. What about our flagship? Okay, we invested in this, had just the curve was just a little bit of tiny mismatch there, which is in what performance? Yeah, family isn't quite as much into number of models, right? Right. Okay. This isn't bad at all. I mean, we didn't optimize what we could optimize in terms of hitting, especially family cares about company. Let me see the marketing in terms of our dealership proximity. There's a problem. Okay, dealership proximity is only 3. That's why I had a problem in family. I can't remember. Yeah, Yellow had a problem in family because of, yeah, that was marketing. I'm just trying to think of LOI on it, which is driving the EBIT, which is driving the results. And dealership proximity, I'm not going to move anything, obviously, but yeah, family really cares about dealership proximity, even though even image doesn't. Let's look at eco-friendly. Pretty major investment in eco-friendly, which we kept kind of the same here, but we backed off on size and we went up a little on technology. None of these are terrible. It's just that, remember that eco kills us every time. And it's better to be a little bit below or closer to the line than overspend in eco. But if this was decision 3 to 4, Yellow would have, that's why I'm saying they can win the sim. This is a great profile because, this white line changes not because the customers want the same thing every time, because they don't. Customers change and they have their in a year, some things change a little bit. But you know what changes a lot? What you did. When you engineer these, you're also shaping what the customers want because that's all they can buy is what you made. You can't go buy something else. So the team's decisions also change the white lines, which is another subtlety. I don't want to get you freaked out about everything to think about here. And now image in yellow, again, this is our flagship. And let's look at the profile. This is not bad at all. So what we're seeing here is that yellow really gets it. Yellow really gets it, just like red did, in what do the customers want, which is really good. It's a lot of study. And it wasn't like, let's just leave it all the same. Let's see what's going on with image. Okay, is this about 3? Oh, that's 3. Okay, see, so this is good. Good for image in terms of dealerships and marketing, but obviously it's a massive underspend for what all these features want in terms of what we're spending and what we're making on the production side. So I'm not showing you the whole inventory budget thing here because of the lost orders in production, because there are also production kinds of indicators in the value chains. What is our market share here? 342. Engineering. Okay, I'm not going to try that because I don't want to. I would do this on a false one because I don't want to change CapEx here. But I can show you CapEx and how that works. I'm not going to show you budget because that shows pricing, which you can figure out from when you go to markets. So that's basically it for. Hi again. Thank you for taking your time to go through the recap. I'm going to be posting a lot of these on Halo with more commentary. And you all have learned this very quickly, much quickly. Usually by decision 3, you see how much text-driven this class is, and you've got it. All the teams are doing fantastic in texting and coordinating with each other, and we're having all the problems that you have in real life when you have a remote job, when you're working from home and you have a very important position, but you got to get a team together. It's not easy in real life either. And I want to be sensitive because I know if you're raising kids, you've got a job, you're in this course, you're active military, you got 1,000 other things going on, and you got to do remote here as well as remote on your job or going to your job. it's hard and it's complicated. So my final kind of thing is you've got a great start as teams. You're working fantastically. Keep texting me. You have questions. You know, this is a different course. I love tutoring as much as teaching. I mean, if there's any one of you that's having an issue, you don't have to message me. You can text me, message if you want, whatever you want. I'm here for you. I want to make sure that we're doing right. Please try to show up for meetings as much as you can. I've had some very odd situations because async and when you're working solidly online and yet you're trying to synchronize teams, it's just the same problem that you have if you're working remote and you have to use a tool like Confluence or Atlassian or one of those, you know, Notion or many of the other apps you have. There are dozens and dozens in real life that'll help you get teams together like this and do metrics together. But this is a real crucial, and this is a Harvard course, and at the end of this class, you'll have a recommendation letter and a reference from me from doing the sim. And it's helpful because you're going to run into there are thousands and thousands of executives and managers that take this sim, and some with ethics added, but it's like the #1 sim out of Harvard's, 300 and some they have, because it started in their production and their decisions, they use this sim to work on it. So thanks again for taking your time. I really appreciate it. And we will see you in Halo.